welcome to another episode of the Oxcord Podcast presented by Boot Crew Media and sponsored by Maker's Mark. I'm your host, Cruz Oxnard, as always joined by the co-host, Nick Perkins, and the moderator today is Wyatt out of the cave. Boys, happy Tuesday as we're recording this episode. We had a very interesting weekend. Still kind of recovering from it, but show's got to go on. So how we doing? It's been a couple days.
It's a couple days removed. I'm not near as upset. I think if we recorded like Sunday, Monday, this would have been a lot more interesting. I probably would have had to dial it back a little bit. I'm to the point now we're now 72 hours removed from it. I mean, I think any objective eyes that doesn't have like a trolling based, way of thinking about it can say that there were some questionable calls during that Alabama game, and we can talk about it, if we want to. But at this point, it's like how can you even be mad anymore? You know what I mean? It's a football game. Still control our own destiny. So you're just moving on.
Well, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid right off. Obviously, the story of the weekend. Tennessee, Bama, probably game of the year. It was a fantastic college football game. Doesn't matter who you cheer for. Went back and forth, huge comeback. I mean, this game looked like it was going to be a blowout early, huge comeback by Alabama, and hell of an effort. But Tennessee finally breaking the 15-year streak. It's done. They got the light cigars. They rushed the field, tore the field goal post down. They went nuts. They burned Knoxville to the ground. I think they're still recovering.
Threw the goalpost in the river, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the biggest.
So is that a tradition that they have? Do they do that like normally? Or
don't
they
know.
Just like off the head, they tore it down, we're going to throw it in the river?
The last time I remember them taking the goalpost down is when they beat Florida back when they had like Spurrier. That was like I think it was like 97 when they won the Natty. When they had like T. Martin, it was like a year after Manning. It's something like that. And they just went nuts. They went insane. They tore the goalpost down, threw it in the river. Like, it was a lot. I mean, if you're a college football fan, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, it was an
objectively, it was cool. It was cool. And you probably don't get a better college environment than Knoxville on a Saturday night, truly. Very underrated just because like their football team hasn't been that great in previous years.
Yeah.
But I mean, how can you not look at that as an objective college football fan and just say like, wow, that was incredible?
No, the atmosphere was electric. College game day was there, sold out. I mean, it had all the elements of being a fantastic Saturday in Knoxville. Great, probably the game of the year. I mean, this game was insane. 52-49. So we'll just get into it. Tennessee it was Tennessee's game to lose the entire game. They was 21-7 after the first quarter. Alabama just could not get any consistency going in the first quarter. Mistakes, penalties like crazy, turnovers, a muff punt, like anything that could go wrong went wrong in the beginning. And it just seemed like, all right, like this is like an Ole Miss, Texas A&M kind of feel. And and then out of nowhere, Bryce Young starts getting consistent again, and he's back from an injury, and we didn't know how he was going to be. And so we just really didn't know. And he started firing all cylinders. I'm like, all right, this is kind of a game now. Like at halftime, it was close. Then Bama comes back again in the third quarter. At one point, Bama had the lead, and then it just started back and forth like a heavyweight fight, like who's going to get knocked out first. And Alabama had a chance to win the game. In the fourth quarter, there was a questionable pass interference call that is going to be talked about for a while that was thrown almost 30 seconds after the interception had happened, and he was already down the field. And then Alabama still has a chance to go down, kill clock, and kick a game-winning field goal. Bad play calling, again, by Bill O'Brien, and that's just like going to be the theme until he's gone. Throw on 3 straight passes, stopping the clock, giving Tennessee all the time in the world. And then when you have a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs who has eaten all day, and he is finally he's so good. He really is. And his performance and Bryce Young's performance being overshadowed for the fact that, Tennessee won, and Hendon Hooker was absolutely amazing. Hyatt was record breaking with 5 touchdowns, couldn't stop him. But you miss a game-winning field goal, and it was a tough kick for Will Riker. Like I don't put any of that blame on him. It's a rough kick. It was a hostile environment. Those things happen. He's a college kicker, and Tennessee just had 3 plays in a row that just like boom, boom, boom went down. The field goal looked like it got blocked at one point, and it just like magically just goes in, and it was like, boom, good night. This is the game. And we get one of the most unique scenes in college football history, probably in recent memory, of Tennessee rushing the field, cigar smoke coming out of the stadium, then ripping the field goal post.
Man.
It was an awesome photo.
Coolest
if you haven't seen it, there's literally 100,000 people smoking a cigar in Neyland Stadium. You can see the cigar smoke come out of the top of the stadium from where they basically do like the river tailgating. And yeah, it's tough. There was a lot of questionable calls in the game, but honestly, man, it's after looking at it the last couple of days and thinking about it, there were probably about 4 calls where I'm just like, okay, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then the rest are just self-inflicted, false starts, delay games, just dumb, avoidable penalties. But the one everyone's talking about is the pass interference in the end zone with Kool-Aid and the interception, and the non-call targeting on Bryce Young right before halftime, which I think that's by far the most egregious one. I don't understand. Like any other game, that would be targeting and twice on Saturdays. I mean, that was so egregious. It's not even funny. I mean, he literally did the entire definition of targeting, launching himself, leading with the helmet to helmet against Bryce, and honestly could have knocked him out of the game, could have caused a concussion, could have seriously injured him. Luckily, Bryce just has that dog in him.
He's tough. He's the toughest son of a bitch alive. Like
he is. You would never know
the amount of punishment this guy's taken this year. I mean, with the shoulder injury, obviously, but people forget he got beat up in that Texas game too.
He did.
And there's been some times that even some lower caliber teams like Vanderbilt and some of the walkover games, like, they've gotten pressure to Bryce. Like this offensive line does have some question marks and some questions to be asked about him. So the guy's gotten beat up this year. And then to have that hit, I saw it in real time. I was like, I mean, he might be done. Like,
everyone
out.
Everyone at the bar that was watching the game, non-Alabama fans, like nobody, everyone was like, oh, that's clearly targeting. And then when it didn't get called, they were like, how? Like even people who had like no dog in this fight, they were just like, how is that not targeting? And
I will say they even reviewed it.
They did.
And they reviewed it after the hit and the incompletion and still ruled it not targeted.
And that's the confusing part for me is the fact that you reviewed it, it got sent to New York or Birmingham or wherever it got sent to, and they still didn't call it. It's just very frustrating. So like after looking at the numbers, they're pretty much dead even. I mean, Alabama had 569 yards, Tennessee had 567. Bryce 455 passing yards. I mean, dude played his heart out. Tennessee ran the ball a little bit more effective than us, but that was more of us trying to get back into the game, and we kind of abandoned the run game except in the red zone. The number everyone is going to talk about, and everyone has talked about, is the penalties. It is 17-6. That is you're not going to win. You're not
going into that game. Tennessee was the most penalized team in the SEC, and then they only get 6 in that game. Obviously, Alabama, very penalized team as well, but and they end up having 17 flags thrown on, which agreed. Like me and you have said off the show and then on the show as well, is like a lot of those. Yeah, I mean they're penalties, 100%. Like false starts, all neutral zone infractions. Like I can even say that the Malachi Moore pass interference call that was like thrown 30 yards behind the play. Yeah, you could make an argument for that being pass interference. I think based on how the game was reffed the entire game, that isn't pass interference, but you could make an argument for it, right? Yes, but I think that is the most issue I take with it is I don't have a problem with them throwing a flag if we do something incorrect. If we're not disciplined enough, we don't stay on side, false start, whatever. I don't have a problem with them throwing. I'm not asking for calls. Yeah. I'm just asking for it to be, equivalent throughout the game. Like that pass interference on what I believe was Trayshawn Holden, guy draped over his back, no call. But then Malachi gets it was Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond. I mean, so a guy draped all over him. Yeah. That's by definition a pass interference. Again, I don't care with that. I don't even mind that being a no call. I like letting the players play. But if you're going to no call there, you got to no call on the back end. And then I think it kind of just goes into it like it wasn't called immediately. The guy throws the flag. He's 60, 80 feet from the play because he's running from the other side of the field to make the call.
Yeah.
So he's throwing the flag 50 feet, away, 30 yards behind the play, 15 seconds after it happened. It's just like there's a lot of question marks. And then, the other side of it to the story is, this team, this refereeing crew has had a history of making some bad calls. I mean,
yes,
2 years ago, they were a part of that, Auburn, Arkansas, where, that was 100% a fumble on Bo Nix, and it wasn't called that way. So I don't know. I would just, I'm going to leave it at this because I know we got other games to get to, but refereeing, I understand it's not perfect. It's an extremely hard job, and I got a lot of respect for people that go out there and do it at a good level. But there's got to be some answers on that one. We got to have a clear definition of what these flags are because it can't keep going like that. It can't.
No, I agree. And it is tough, and that's going to be the number. And like I said, we talked about it. I would say 11 out of those 17 are like, okay, yeah, like false starts, blocking the backs, simple things that can be corrected. The other ones are more of like, okay, like what is your definition of this penalty? Like, what is pass interference to you? Like, what is, what is roughing the passer? Like, what are these elements that can be, that are more of, I mean, I don't know. It's more like emotional base at this point.
Yeah.
But
and it's a hostile environment, and you're a ref. You got 100,000 people yelling at you, wanting for a flag. Like, I kind of don't even blame the guy making the call. I mean, just pure emotion in that. But
I agree, and it's tough. It's a tough loss. But I will say this: there are three things I want to end this game on. One, Alabama still controls their own destiny. Luckily, this was an SEC East game. All Alabama has to do is beat Mississippi State and Ole Miss. They're in. They're done. That's it. Well, yeah, but I'm not really worried about Ole Miss right now. Is the one team that is the defining game, is because they're right now currently the favorites, or not the favorites, but like the leaders in the SEC West, and Tennessee and Georgia still have to play each other. There's a really good chance that Tennessee doesn't even make it to Atlanta.
Yeah,
because I don't see Georgia losing another game of the rest of their schedule. But if they beat Tennessee in Athens, Tennessee is going to sit at home while Alabama and Georgia play each other. And then you have this scenario that everyone's been talking about the last couple of days. If Tennessee loses to Georgia and they're sit there one loss and they finish the rest of the year not losing a game, and then you have Georgia go to the SEC championship game undefeated, and then Alabama beats Georgia again in the SEC championship game. You have 3 one-loss SEC teams sitting there on selection
that all have an argument to get in.
And then you're going to have right now, because it's lined up, and we'll get into Michigan in a minute, Michigan and Ohio State are on a collision course to play each other, and they're most likely going to be a top 4 matchup, and that's going to decide who goes to the Big Ten championship and who goes to the college football playoff.
Right.
And then
it's an elimination game. I mean, that might as well be a playoff game.
Because right now the only undefeated team in the Big 12 is TCU, with Oklahoma State getting knocked off, and then USC losing to Utah over the weekend basically is like, hey, UCLA is their only shot now, and UCLA has Oregon this week and USC in a couple weeks. So I know right now, like we've seen this movie before. We've seen it a couple times. Like there's only been 2 seasons where Nick Saban's gone undefeated. And so like, but he generally has this loss in October, November, and then chaos assumes. Yep. So yes, it always sucks when your school loses and it's never fun. But at the end of the day, we got one of the best college football games you'll ever watch, one of the best environments you'll ever see, one of the best performances you'll ever see from a kid, Hendon Hooker, who might bring Tennessee their first Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it's just setting up for a glorious finish. So yes, I am sad my alma mater lost, but at the same time, though, as a college football fan, it's good for the sport. It really is.
I've always said Tennessee college football is better when Tennessee's good at football. Like, their fans suck.
Oh,
I hate them. I mean, they are the worst fans in college football, but they make it fun. So
I will say Tennessee has not been relevant since Philip Fulmer, 2006, 2005. Last time I remember Tennessee being relevant. But we'll end it there. There's a lot of college football. Shout out to Tennessee. Hell of a game. Hell of a season so far. They've probably been my most impressive team I've seen so far this year has been Tennessee halfway through the season, because we're at the halfway point. All right. Next game, Michigan, Penn State. This game was, I think we all kind of called this game. We figured to be like, all right, this game is going to be very sloppy in the beginning, very defense oriented, very defensive heavy. And then Michigan just decided to be like, hey, we can't throw the ball, but we have a Heisman caliber running back in Blake Corum, and I'm just going to run all over you. And Michigan just dominated the second half. Like, this game was never in doubt for Michigan, even when Penn State at one point had the lead, because they had a crazy Sean Clifford run, which I don't know how he was able to run 60 yards as slow as he is. And then you have the pick six, which it was just like the luck of a tip. So it was kind of like a crazy, like 30-second back-to-back big plays. And then Michigan just dominated the rest of the game. And
you give honestly, Michigan an honest chance in the playoffs this year.
I do.
I mean, like, they get past Ohio State. I mean, their defense is legit. Level.
Their defense, I think, is better, which is crazy to say because they lost so much on defense last year. I think their defense, top to bottom, is somehow more consistent, because last year they had Hutchinson and Ajabi, yeah, and they were coming off the edge hot, and they had a shutdown corner in Daxton Hill, and they played good, solid defense, but they would give up some chunk plays. They're not giving up anything now. Like, they are just harassing the quarterback, and they have a running back who is not getting enough love in Blake Corum. JJ McCarthy has done enough to get the job done for Michigan. And I kind of like this matchup when they play Ohio State, because what they'll do is they'll keep CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jackson Smith and Jabba and all those weapons that Ohio State has off the field. Like, they will grind that clock down for 8-minute, 9-minute, 10-minute drives and really make Ohio State uncomfortable. And I can't wait to see that matchup. It's going to be the last week of the season. It's going to be, you're going to have Iron Bowl. You're going to have the game. I mean, it's USC, UCLA. Like, you're going to have some fantastic matchups in the last week. And I think right now, Michigan, I didn't really know what to think of them coming into the season. We were high on Ohio State. We were high on Michigan State. We were wrong on that one. We were high on Wisconsin. They've kind of let everyone down. But Michigan has impressed me. I think they are a legit playoff team. I'm
surprised. Yeah. Did they crack top 4 in the AP? Didn't they?
Yes,
this
are.
Week,
yeah.
They're I was shocked. I was shocked even before that they weren't a top 4 team. This team is. Well, they were 5 last week.
Well, yeah, they've been back and forth with Clemson. So, like, Clemson's been 5, like Michigan's been 5, and so, like, it's just been like this weird thing. Now Tennessee is 3, which I think Tennessee should be 2. Yeah, I think it should be Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia. But Michigan, I think, is 4 or 5. I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Michigan's one of those teams where, like, if they stay hot, if they get hot, they stay hot, because I think they're playing really, really good football right now. Yeah. If they stay hot, going into the playoff, I think they have the caliber, the potential to beat any team on the field. I think that defense is actually really, 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 really good. Because truly, Penn State, I didn't really. I mean, I knew when they played Auburn, they've played a little bit of an easy schedule. I know, yes.
But so does Michigan.
So does Michigan. I mean, yeah. Before Penn State, I think they had like the 131st strength of schedule or something like that. It was something crazy. But
yeah,
I've always said on the show that even if you're playing these know-nothing teams, you still got to go out there and execute, and they do every single time, every single week. They're a really well-coached team. So yeah, I guess you got to give Harbaugh some credit on that one. But they always do seem to lose the big ones. So that Ohio State game, I think, is going to be a huge one.
Look, as long as Michigan doesn't slip up the rest of the way, I know that they have a revenge game coming up against Michigan State, one of the only team that beat them in the regular season last year. They want revenge on that one. Like, you had that game last year. Kenneth Walker just ran all over you, and I feel like they want revenge on that. The rest of their schedule, man, they got past Penn State, like they got past Iowa, like Ohio State and Michigan, undefeated, a shot to go to the college football playoffs again for the second year in a row, is right there for the taking. And so I look at them to do that.
I wanna propose this question to you guys. This is like the worst case scenario for the college football committee.
Yeah.
You have, like we said, Alabama, 1-loss SEC champ, Georgia, 1-loss SEC runner-up, Tennessee only losses Georgia, Ole Miss only losses Alabama.
Oh.
You've got an undefeated Big Ten champ and a 1-loss Michigan or Ohio State, the only losses to the Big Ten champ.
I got you one even better.
Undefeated Pac-12 or 1-loss Pac-12 champ.
They're out.
Yeah, no, Pac-12's out.
Big 12 champ.
But
who do you put in the college football playoff?
I got one better for you. What if Michigan down the line loses to just like a crazy Northwestern or something like that, then beats Ohio State, wins the Big Ten, 1-loss Big Ten champ, Clemson sitting there in the ACC, and then you got those 3 teams, like Wyatt said, in the SEC, undefeated TCU. Like, what do you do in that scenario?
That's
the worst case scenario.
I think at that point, what the committee will do is they will take all the champions. They would at that point they would have
they would just go default.
You would have to take whoever wins the SEC. You have to take undefeated Clemson. You have to take undefeated TCU, and you have to take whoever wins the Big Ten. I think if someone loses in the Pac-12, I think they're out. I just do the Pac-12 has been really like underwhelming this year. Unfortunately, besides USC and UCLA, Utah I know finally showed up for the first time this year, which I've been waiting for. But I think at that point you have to take the winners. Otherwise, you're going to just. It would be such a doomsday scenario where it's like, okay, never mind, 18 playoff starts next year.
Yeah, no, and you know, everybody kind of shits on that.
Yeah,
but you know, the flip side to that, though,
I wish we had an 18 playoff.
I wish we had it this year. Yeah, just because of that scenario happening, man, I would hate to see
the parity.
Like, a 1-loss Ole Miss,
right
a 1-loss Ole Miss team that's never been. You know, that is on the outside looking in, it would be one of their best teams of all time.
Yeah.
And they don't even get a chance to play for it. I mean, this year is the perfect scenario in which why expanding the playoff is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then obviously last year's probably not that same scenario.
No,
so it's give or take. But
I think this year has been fantastic. Parity in college football is at all-time high. Like we're having teams like UCLA, Tennessee, TCU, for example, like no one saw them coming. Oklahoma State's arrived. USC's back. Texas is like, there is actually a scenario I heard that Texas can somehow make the college football playoffs, and I don't know how, but there is a way they can do it. And so I love this because it's good for the sport, because it's not just the typical shock where it's like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson. There's parity now. All right, let's move on to the next one, because this is my favorite game, and because like I have been so high on Utah all year, and you've known this. Like I picked them to go to the college football playoff. I love.
It's only been 7 weeks, and you finally got one right.
I know, and so like I love Cameron Rising. I love this Utah team, and honestly, man, like I was just like so happy that I got one right finally with this team, because it looked like this game was going to be a blowout. Like
I thought USC, I turned it off. I legitimately turned it because I thought USC was going to. I think I even texted you. If I didn't, I should have.
You did. No, you did.
I was like, oh, that Utah pick, man, it's pretty rough.
I know. And so, but Utah was favored going in this game. They were honoring 2 of their fallen teammates who had passed away over the last few years. They had special helmets. It was a blackout game. Like, it was a night game in Utah, and USC historically has struggled with that. And Utah could have laid down and died after being down 20. Well, I think they were down like 21-7 going into the second quarter. Like USC could just not be stopped. Like USC was doing everything they wanted to, and Cameron Rising played the game of his life at the quarterback for Utah. He threw for 415 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 60 yards, and ran for 3 touchdowns, including the game-tying one and the game-winning 2-point conversion to beat the number USC was number 7 team in the country. Your season has been a wash. You lost week 1 when you had college football playoff hopes. You got your ass kicked against UCLA. Right now, your season was to basically play spoilers, have some crazy things happen, and maybe represent the Utah Utes in the Pac-12 championship. And they went out there, played a fantastic game in the second half, played shutdown defense against arguably the best offense in college football, and Caleb Williams, who right now was probably on pace to go to New York and be in the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
I think he still is, though.
He is, but and look, Caleb Williams, like, huge shout out, man. I mean, he still threw for 381 and 5 touchdowns. The dude's amazing. I love watching this kid play football. It's like watching an NCAA Road to Glory player, like, run around, get out of sacks, like, still throw the ball down the field like 50 yards. But the tight end for Utah, Dalton Kincaid. This dude looked like Rob Gronkowski. 16 catches, 234 yards, and a touchdown as a tight end, Nick.
Yeah.
In a game where your best players had to step up, and he did. And he was just incredible. Him and Cameron Rising Racino hugging each other on the sideline, crying, honoring their teammates. It's been an emotional season for him. I was so happy for this Utah team. And now the Pac-12's college football playoff hopes all come down to UCLA.
Which is nuts, because like, who called that one?
No one.
Because UCLA is still undefeated. They go in, and who do they play this week?
They play in Oregon this week.
They play in Oregon. See, that's a tough game, because like Oregon, even after all that bullshit with Georgia earlier in the year, they're still a pretty good team. They haven't really shown any like true like fight or anything. But I mean, UCLA, Chip Kelly, man. Yeah, you got to give that guy credit, man. He's got he brought the visor back out. They're fun to watch. I love UCLA this year, but
yeah,
I just want to go on record and saying I was 100. I don't care how the end of that USC game, right? I was 100% right about USC and Utah, truly, because they're not a playoff team the way they are right now. But that game was incredible to watch, just like obviously with all the emotion and everything. And man, Caleb Williams, tons of emotion. Like Caleb Williams crying, walking off the field, because like, I mean, you leave it all out there on the field when you're playing that kind of way. I mean, 5 touchdowns. He's probably sitting there like, guys, I got to get some help back here. Like, I can't throw 400 yards, 5 touchdowns every game and lose. Like,
and he lost his best weapon, Jordan Addison, as well. So
yeah,
I mean, he lost.
Is he out for the year?
No, he avoided. I saw a report today. He avoided serious injury, and he is considered day to day.
Good. He is one of the best receivers in college football, and losing him is just that's just bad. Like you never like to see that. All right, we'll do like a quick rapid fire going over the rest of the key matchups. Georgia takes care of Vandy, 55-0. Poor Vandy. Clemson takes care of business in Tallahassee. Almost, I mean, I will say this. I give Florida State credit. They could have laid down and died, but they came back, scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, made it 34-28. Clemson sitting at 7-0. Big bounce back year for them. Oklahoma State, TCU. This game was insane.
This is my lock. I love Oklahoma State. I thought they were going to win this game outright, to be honest.
They should have. They were dominating the whole game. It was 24-13 at halftime, and then I don't know what happened. Spencer Sanders just forgot how to play football. So TCU right now, the leaders in the Big 12. Good for them. We all thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in college football this year, and they have completely come out of nowhere.
Who's that coach out there?
Oh my gosh, who is that?
I don't know. He's going to have people knocking on his door.
Max Duggan is legit.
I know who their offensive coordinator is. It's the brother of Lincoln Riley, Garrett Riley.
That's right. Oh, that makes total sense.
Runs in the family, I guess. Ole Miss surviving Auburn. This game was my lock, and it ended up pushing, so I was pretty pissed off about that. They win by 14, but this game got a little closer than it should have. Auburn scored 17 points and 14 points in back-to-back quarters, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So I am looking at that Ole Miss Bama game. Ole Miss, they can't stop the run. Like Auburn ran all over them. Tank Bigsby had 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like watching that, Jamar Gibbs will eat. I will say this, like Ole Miss does have a pretty decent like pass defense, and their running backs are fantastic. So I'm interested to see that. But Auburn put up a pretty decent fight, and I give them props for that, because this game looked like it was gonna just be a blowout. Syracuse 6-0. Amazing. Bananas. They beat NC State. Obviously, Devin Leary is out for the year. So, I mean, they couldn't do anything on offense. They win 24-9. So that is 2.
Syracuse plays Clemson this week, right? I think. If not, they play soon.
They play. Yes, they do. They play at Clemson, noon game. Wow, that's going to be.
Give me the Syracuse
Syracuse
upset.
historically has given Clemson fits.
That's
is
Clemson
true.
right now is a 13.5 point favorite.
Man, I would.
Plus 13.
If it was in Syracuse, I would be like upset alert. It's at Clemson. Clemson looks like they've kind of figured it out, and it looks like they're back to just being regular, annoying Clemson. Mississippi State getting upset against Kentucky, 27-17. Now the Mississippi State-Alabama game losing a little bit of luster going in to week 8. Kansas, unfortunately, 2 losses in a row. Oklahoma, 52-42. I was kind of disappointed about that. Texas surviving Iowa State, 24-21. Illinois, 26-14 against Minnesota. Illinois, 6-1. And then, of course, the Cinderella story, James Madison loses their first game to Georgia Southern, 45-38. And that's our top 25 rundown presented by Christopher Mobley. If you want the best collegiate apparel, go to ChristopherMobley.com. They have the best selection of Peter Millar and any collegiate apparel. They just actually announced that they're opening a brand new store in Athens, Georgia. Congratulations to them. Well deserved. Their product is fantastic. I'm rocking it now. I'm rocking their Peter Millar everyday hoodie. Go to ChristopherMobley.com. Use promo code CRUISE for 15% off your first order. That's CRUZ. Christopher Mobley. Join the mob. All right, Wyatt.
One thing I do got to say about Christopher Mobley, though.
All right, let me hear it.
All right, so Alabama goes 6-0 when I'm wearing their apparel. The one time I don't, we lose. So I'm just saying, there might be something with that. It could be. You could easily blame me on that one. You could very easily blame me on that one.
I am blaming
listen,
you.
So if you want your team apparently to win college athletics, just go buy a shirt from them.
Okay, so this actually just got announced. So 5-star and Alabama target Kermani McClain, #1 corner in the country, has set his commitment for next week. That is big. He's one of the best players in the country. It's between Florida, Alabama right now. So that'll be a huge one, especially if we can land that one. All right.
Where do you think he's going? Just a quick prediction on
I
that.
personally think he's going to Florida. I think I think he has been hard Florida for a while. I don't like it. I would love for him to come, but as long as he doesn't go to Georgia, I'm okay. But I think he's a Florida kid. If we have to put money on it. And speaking of money, make sure you use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Football season is halfway done, unfortunately, but you can still get in on the action. Put $10 down on any NFL game for your team to win. And if your team wins, you win $200 in free bets. That's promo code BOOT. That's BOOT. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Get involved with the NFL action. Even if your team's not winning, you can still win. DraftKings Sportsbook app, official sponsor of the Oxcord podcast. Boom.
5-1 on the show. 5-1.
Man,
what are we doing?
I pushed 2 weeks in a row. I'm struggling right now.
Wyatt, what's your record?
I know I lost this past. I think I'm 500-ish. I've learned not to bet on the same team in two weeks in a row.
Yeah, 3-3.
I
think Bond leading up the is he 2-4? I don't know. He's 3-3, 2-4. I can't remember.
All right. So normally we would start with Payne on this show.
No, let's start with me. We can start with
I do want to start with you because your team actually balled out. You guys beat. I mean, Nick, take it away. I'll tell you what. I'll give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
I don't even need 3 minutes. There's really nothing. I mean, you watch the Atlanta Falcons. They're the best team in the NFC South. They are.
Damn.
They are. You can't dispute that. Tom Brady has not been Tom Brady this year. The defense has become more suspect. Yeah. Yes. And I mean, when was the last time Tom Brady had back-to-back weeks where he could have won the game with a 2-point conversion and didn't convert?
You're wrong.
Tom Brady used to be that guy that you give 2 yards, that's automatic every single time. Might as well just throw in the towel then and there. But he's not playing. Obviously, maybe with the off the field distractions, he's not playing to what he's capable of, but it's Tom Brady. You can never say.
See, but here's the thing: you can't use that as an excuse. I'm sorry. You put yourself in that own public light. I have no sympathy for that. People go through that. Athletes and players and people go through that all the time. You're the one who decided to come back for another year. I think that's such a cop-out excuse for anyone using it. I know you're not using it, but I think that's a cop-out excuse. He's just not playing well. He's finally fallen off the cliff. Thank God. He's finally done. He's washed. His team can't carry him anymore because it just frankly is not a good team anymore.
But tell me the best team in the NFC South. I mean, like it.
I would have to say y'all. I would have to say y'all.
At the current,
Yep. Right now, we are hurt. Like we're just like I looked at our injury report today, Nick. Michael Thomas is out. Jarvis Landry's out. Jameis Winston's out. Andy Dalton might be out. Chris Olave's coming back. So Taysom Hill might actually start at quarterback for us.
He's the only person that has a pulse on your offense.
Him and Chris Olave when he's not. Alvin Kamara has been great for the last 2 weeks in a row. He's back healthy. He's looking good. Defensively, we are just struggling. I mean, I don't mean to take this away, but yeah, the Atlanta Falcons right now, I would say, are the most consistent team. And I think right now, you are the best team in the NFC South.
And the hardest part of the schedule is over, too. We got, I think, Carolina twice. We get the Bengals, who are suspect this year. We get the Steelers, who they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Yeah. I know they did just beat Tampa Bay, and then I think we get the Saints. And then I want to say our most difficult game is
Cleveland.
Probably Cleveland, but
with Deshaun Watson,
right? Yeah, but I mean, there's not really an aspect where you can't look at this team and say this team could realistically be 9-5.
Yo, I honestly, I look at this team and I see a 10-win team.
Yeah,
and I hate saying that.
If we go 9-5 on the next like run of games, that's 100% a win. And not only that, I don't see Tampa Bay bouncing back. I love you, Cruz, and I'm not a guy to kick a player while he's down. I don't see the Saints really making a play back.
I don't
Carolina just fired their coach. They're going to pay the guy $40 million just to not coach for him. So
nice.
everybody is really, really down bad, and it seems like the Atlanta Falcons are the only ones trending up right now.
I couldn't agree more, Nick. Right now, I just think we're too hurt. I will be happy if we win 9 games. Big if right now, and I know the rest of our schedule is rough. So we'll go into the Saints game. We'll just touch. Go ahead.
The Falcons went from, because I think it was in our preview show, Nick, you went from, tank for
17,
tank for Bryce Young to, solid chance you're a playoff.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. But like, who in their right mind is really predicting that?
No one.
I mean, nobody thought with a team with Marcus Mariota, Cordell Patterson. I mean, the defense has been suspect for like the last 6 years.
Drake London.
Like Drake London's like, we didn't really know what he was going to be. I was positive about him. Truly, I understand like the viral video when we drafted him, but as like practice came out and he's like doing really well. Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown on U.S. soil for the first time. Like,
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of things with this Atlanta team that you can kind of almost lean your hat on, and there's not another team in the NFC South that really has that. If you're a Buccaneer fan, you're like, where's Tom Brady? If you're the Saints, like, can we please get healthy? And Carolina's like, we need everything, anything and everything. Yeah,
paying for everything. Yeah. So I mean, Nick, shout out to you. I was happy. I really was happy for you. I was like, damn, like good for you.
It's getting to the point now. I don't even want to make fun of the Saints. Like, I'm actually rooting for it. Like who was the guy? The no name, Rashid Shaheed or something like that. That dude's a baller, by the way.
And guess what? Didn't get a single touch the rest of the game. Blows my mind. The Saints played the Cincinnati Bengals. We were playing with backups. Andy Dalton started again. This game was so winnable for the Saints, and it was such a typical Saints game where it's like, oh my God, we are playing with backups and scrubs right now. No starting wide receivers. Or no starting quarterback. And we still somehow managed to be like, put ourselves to win this game. And then, of course, we just forget how to tackle. This team is just so devastating to my self-esteem. It's just unfair. I have a weekend every year, and it doesn't happen. It happens once a year. It's when the Saints and Bama loses in the same weekend. And it just ruins my week. It ruins everything, and I just hate it. And I'm just in like a bad mood the rest of the week. But luckily, I'm not. I think it's coming with age where I've matured, and
sports don't need as much.
It still does. So like I'm used to the Saints losing, and so but it's the way they lose. It just that makes it hurt.
Y'all should have won that game. That's what
should have. And it was rough, and it's unfortunate. And now, of course, we play on Thursday night against the Cardinals, and I'm not looking forward to that because half our team is out again. And
to be fair, Call of Duty drops this week. New Call of drop.
No, it drops next week.
Is it?
Unfortunately.
Well,
It's next
no.
week. Trust me.
Pre-order.
This week is
pre-order.
early release.
It's early release if you pre-order, which God knows Kyler Murray has that thing.
You know he's got a copy. Okay, then we have a shot. But if
there's a chance, that's all I'm saying. There's a chance.
You do know who returns this week, though.
DeAndre Hopkins.
And
there's no Marshawn Lattimore again, and then Chris Olave is back.
Gardner Johnson has more turnovers by himself than the Saints do as a team.
Okay, look, I know our team is a dumpster fire. We're hurt. We're trying to figure things out, but we're
not much better.
Here's the thing, Nick, is that I can go into a game knowing it's like, hey, if my team wins and they're injury riddled, I'll consider it, a double win. But realistically, I know we're gonna lose. They claim to have the best quarterback on the face of the planet, and they're fully healthy, and they can't beat the New York Jets.
Yeah. Well, so before we give the floor to them, I do just want to say Aaron Rodgers is my fantasy quarterback. I have a vested interest with the Packers. I would say the Packers truly are like a second team. I have a lot of close friends, obviously Bon and Wyatt, and then other friends that are like diehard Packer fans. So I feel for you. I'm sorry. But who would have thought that we were sitting here week 7 and my team is the only one that wins?
To be fair, our teams have the same record.
Yeah, yours is a whole lot more disappointing.
My team beat your team, Nick. I just want you to know that.
My transit
week 1 is a very long time ago, Chris.
Still. All right, look, I will give you this. I will give you each a minute to vent. You each get 60 seconds. So who wants to go first?
Start it, Bon.
Yeah, I don't feel the motivation to watch the NFL for the rest of the year. Not even just Packers. No. Like, okay. You give the Broncos 4 primetime games now?
Yeah, 4.
To watch that just for them to invent an injury for Russell Wilson to get them to pull out. Like, come on. Touchdowns are down 22% this year as compared to last year. Fantasy sucks ass to watch and play. Packers aside, if we could go 6-0 and I still wouldn't watch this. Like, the NFL sucks this year. And
really, if the Packers were 6-0, you wouldn't watch the NFL.
No. The games are bad. The games are always bad.
Dude, the Jets and the Giants are good at football. Like, that will never happen again.
That's impressive. But also, the Jets were good like 10 years ago. What do you mean that'll never happen again?
All right, talking about Wyatt. The Jets were good.
All right, Wyatt. Back when they had Fitzpatrick and Eric Decker. They were good. They were decent.
Wyatt, go. I'm about to argue with people.
All right, my biggest point as a former offensive lineman, I didn't get past high school, but as a former offensive lineman, what pisses me off the most is you return an all-pro left tackle, Pro Bowl left tackle. Your left guard is one of the better left guards in the NFL. Your center, meh. Your right guard, meh. Your right tackle is supposed to be this superstar who can play all 5 positions, and you suck complete ass.
I mean, the Jets ran him off the field.
Do not understand it. Aaron Rodgers did not have a clean pocket for almost that entire game. And when he did, he is not playing good.
Let me ask you this.
We have stellar players, all pro players on offense and on defense. And look at the history of the players. Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP. David Bakhtiari, all pro left tackle. Elton Jenkins, all pro offensive lineman. Aaron Jones is a really, really good running back. Romeo Doubs has flashed. Alan Lazard has scored in all but one game he's played in this year. We have legitimate players on offense. We just aren't playing good and not trusting the scheme. And I really don't understand it at this point.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to ask you, though, no kidding, is there any kind of bright spot where you, as like a Packer fan, is going to be like, okay, we can turn this around, we can make this, an 11-5, season, we can make the playoffs, we can hell, it looks like the Minnesota Vikings are going to completely run away with that division.
Realistically, there are, I believe, 2 points that we are really going to probably be able to turn this team around. The biggest point starts with the offensive line. The left tackle, David Bakhtiari, has returned to form. He is all pro level, one of the best, in the game. He had like the third best pass blocking rate this past week. He is fine. The problem is the right side of your offensive line. Jenkins has not transitioned like he's supposed to. Whoever we've got sitting at right guard between Jake Hansen and Royce Newman is not good. So it starts with the offensive line. You've got to make a change there. I would move Elton Jenkins either to right guard or back to his left tackle spot. And then put Josh Nijman, who replaced David Bakhtiari for a year and a half, 2 years, at right tackle, and just see what happens. You've got to make some sort of change.
You're going into experimental mode now, essentially.
Yes. Albert Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result.
Yeah.
So rolling out the same offensive line every week and expecting the same result is going to get you killed.
Yeah. It's also tough. The Jets have a very low-key, good defensive line too, like Hugh Dub. Like their defense actually isn't horrible. Aaron Rodgers, he's not, a magician out there. He's going to try and make things happen. But if the receivers just aren't going to be able to get, separation from the cornerbacks, which like Sauce Gardner looked like an all-pro out there, which I want to get your opinion on that. What happened with that? Do you take what he did as like crazy disrespect? Do you hate Sauce Gardner now?
No, I don't hate
Swag Gardner.
I don't hate him. I don't know if Bond has a different opinion on this, but I didn't hate it. I mean, Lambeau, it's like playing against Alabama. It is one of the most entertaining environments. It is a really cool field to go to that field and play that game, win or lose. Jets got the win. So as a rookie, to be able to clamp down on the Packers like that, celebrate. I have no issue with the cheesehead thing. I have no issue with Alan Lazard coming over and screwing with the guy, knocking it off his head. It kind of looked
almost a little playful too. Like I feel like the media really blew that one out.
I do too.
Angles. From the back angle, it looked bad, but there was a side angle, and you saw Lazard kind of flipped it off, and Gardner smiles at him, and Lazard kind of runs off chuckling. So there was no ill intent there.
All right. And speaking on ill intent, let's end the show on a peaceful note.
Oh no.
We never need to have the Denver Broncos on primetime football ever again.
Oh my god, dude.
We did it again in like week 14, I think.
I know, but here's the thing. It can be flexed out though. That's the thing. Luckily, they have that ability to flex it out. Unless it's a Monday night game, then we're just screwed. We're stuck with it. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode. We will be back on Thursday for our preview show going into this weekend. Some pretty decent matchups coming up. But you can find me online at The Real Cruise Ox on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you follow the Oxcore podcast on all social medias. And, of course, follow Boot Crew Media because we love them and they love us.
Yeah. Drop a follow at nperkins96, cross 5,000. Wyatt, you suck. And the
I had a
TikTok
rough weekend, okay?
The TikTok boys. We seen those numbers?
Yeah, buddy.
Yes,
going viral, baby. Good job, Bond. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the love. As always, Bond, let them know what you got.
You can follow me at BondSnow_ on Twitter. And as always, go follow the X4 podcast on TikTok. We're up like 300 since Saturday. So good looks.
Massive dub.
Massive dub.
Good looks. You can follow me online at FultonW_. I don't care about my followers. I just care about beating Nick and getting the podcast to 5,000.
Boom.
So go do that. Follow Boot Crew and subscribe to their YouTube.
All right. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Or not next week.